seek you, the more I find you, the more I find you, the more I love you. I wanna sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hand, lay back against you and breathe, feel your heartbeat. This love is so deep, it's more than I can stand. I melt in your peace, it's overwhelming. I wanna sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hand, lay back against you and breathe, feel your heartbeat. This love is so deep, it's more than I can stand. I melt in your peace, it's overwhelming. Oh, your love is overwhelming me. And oh, my love, your love is overwhelming me. I wanna sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hand, lay back against you and breathe, feel your heartbeat. This love is so deep, it's more than I can stand. I melt in your peace.
There's a popular magazine for hikers called Trail Magazine. In their February 2004 issue, they published directions on how to get down from Britain's highest peak.
Calculating.
Returning from 4,409 feet requires explicit and detailed directions, especially in bad weather. But if you were to actually follow the directions, they would take you right off the edge of a cliff and into a 1,000-foot drop.
At next intersection, turn right.
Imagine traveling along, feeling secure and confident, not knowing that the directions in your hand, if actually followed, would lead to your destruction. The truth is, on this trail called life, all of us are following someone's directions. None of us are really blazing our own trail. We all follow a path that has been laid out for us by someone claiming to know the way. The question is, whose directions are you following? What path are you on?
So I'm standing mid-court of a gym. And when you walk into the gym to watch a game, you decide which side you're going to sit on. So you buy your ticket, you come in, and you recognize which team you're going to be cheering for, and then you choose a side that reflects your allegiance to that team. You decide what team you're going to be rooting for when the game gets tense. You want to make sure you're sitting with the right people, cheering for the right team. But you got to make a choice, right? When you walk in, you have to choose sides. And is there anything more annoying than someone who tries to be on both sides? Especially when it's a rivalry. So if it's Oklahoma playing Oklahoma State, you got to choose. You have to choose a side. If it's Texas playing Texas A&M, if it's Duke playing North Carolina, if it's the University of Louisville playing University of Kentucky, you have to choose one side or the other. It can't be both. Eventually, you've got to decide which side you're going to be on. And Jesus is clear that when we follow Him, that there's no other side. We can't say, well, I'm going to follow Jesus part-time, and then part of the time I'm going to live for myself. I'm going to do things my way in this area of my life, but when it comes to my money, when it comes to my relationships, I'll do things a different way. That you have to choose what side you're going to be on. Jesus says that those who follow Jesus, that they should love Him with all of their heart, with all their soul, with all their mind, with all of their strength. The word there is all. It's the kind of relationship that He wants to have with you where you're all in. You're all in. That Jesus is not one of many, but He is your one and only. One of the times Jesus makes this really clear is when He is speaking to a huge crowd of people on the side of a hill in John chapter 6. And Jesus says to the crowd in verse 26, He says, if anyone wants to follow me and does not hate his father or his mother, his wife, children, his brothers and sisters, he cannot be my disciple. He goes on to say, and anyone who does not carry a cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Do you hear what He says? Jesus says that if you're going to follow me, it means hating your family. Really? You have to hate your family? You have to hate Nana to follow Jesus? Or Mima, Muma, Grandma, whatever you call her? You have to hate your family to follow Jesus? Why does He use such strong language? Well, obviously, that would contradict all of His other teachings about loving our neighbor. So what's He mean by this? Well, Jesus is using such strong language because in that culture, if you were to become a follower of Jesus, there's a decent chance you would have to do so without your family's blessing. And if you were to follow Jesus against your parents' desires, if you were to follow Jesus against your family's will, then it would be as if you hated your family. You were turning your back on them. And some of you get this because you've been thinking about making a decision. You've been thinking about stepping over a line and choosing a side and saying, I'm going to follow Jesus and I'm going to go all in. But you're afraid it's going to hurt your mom's feelings. You're afraid your dad's going to think it's ridiculous, that your friends won't like you as much. And so you want to follow Jesus, but you just kind of want Him to be this compartment of your life, just part of it. But you want to keep other parts of your life separate. You kind of have another side that He doesn't impact. But Jesus says, look, if you're not willing to choose me over your family, then you probably ought to just go home. A college student caught me after church one weekend and said that she wanted to put her trust in Jesus. And we talked for a few minutes and we prayed together. And she was ready to be baptized right then. She wanted to be baptized. I thought when she was talking about that decision that she was speaking of a time in the future when her family could come and kind of celebrate that moment with her. But there was a sense of urgency in her voice. She said, no, you don't understand. I want to be baptized right now. So a few minutes later, we're backstage and getting ready to step into the water. She seemed a little bit nervous. I wanted to make her feel more confident. I said, do you have any family or friends that are going to be here to cheer you on? She said, no. And then she added, my parents are not going to be happy about this. She looked down, she took a deep breath. She walked out in front of me into the water. Here's what I'm saying. Fans don't do that. Fans are not willing to follow Jesus if it means disappointing their family. They're happy to follow Jesus, but when it starts to interfere with their other relationships, when following Him starts to hurt their popularity with other people, then that's asking too much. And so they try and be on both sides. But as Jesus talks here about hating your father and mother to follow Him, I think the point He is making is that He must come before every other relationship. The New Living Translation puts verse 26 this way: if you want to be my follower, you must love me more than your own mother and father, more than your wife and children, your brothers and sisters. You must love Him more than. And see, what fans want to do is they want to make Jesus one of many. Where Jesus wants to have the throne of our hearts, a fan will say, well, I'll give you a love seat. I'll give you a couch of my heart, and you can sit there and you can share the space with these other people or with these other things in my life. And Jesus says, no, that's not how it works. It's all or nothing. Jesus doesn't want to just be one of the drawers in the dresser of your life. He wants to be the dresser that all the drawers fit into. The Bible says that God is a jealous God. So when He defines the relationship, He makes it clear that you need to choose sides here. You need to go all in. Imagine it this way, and this is strictly pretend, all right? We are just imagining. But let's imagine that this week you walk into a restaurant and you see me sitting at a table and having a candlelit dinner with a woman who is not my wife. You come up to me and you confront me and you say, "Who is this woman? What are you doing? This isn't your wife." And I respond, I say, "Look, don't worry about it, okay? My wife and I have a date night on Friday. It's Wednesday, so I'm out with this beautiful lady tonight." And you just walk away angry and disgusted, and you decide somebody needs to tell his wife, and you're the person to do it, and you call her and you break the news to her. So, again, just imagining, but when I come home from that date, what do you think her response will be? Let's just imagine. My wife meets me at the door and says, "Honey, nice to see you. Did you have a nice time on your date?" And then she comes over and gives me a big kiss. Says, "I don't mind you seeing other people as long as I know Friday's my night, as long as I know I'm important to you." That would never happen. As soon as I walked in the door from that date, I would be terrified. I would fear for my life, because if my wife even heard about me eating at McDonald's with a man who kind of looked like a woman, I'd be in trouble. Now, why is that? Because she loves me. Her refusal to share me does not indict her as being insecure or possessive, but it proves that she is devoted to me. She loves me. She wants my whole heart. And look, God has said, "I'm not going to share you. You choose." Jesus explains that if you follow Him, you don't do this part-time or halfway. He's not looking for fair weather fans who cheer for Him on one side but then switch sides as soon as it becomes inconvenient. He wants followers who are so committed that they are willing to die for Him. A few years ago, I was back in some pretty deep tribal areas of Africa. One night I finished preaching to a crowd of a few dozen people, and I presented the gospel to them, the invitation of Jesus to follow. And there were two young men, I'm guessing in their mid-20s, who accepted Christ and His invitation, and they made this commitment to follow Jesus. Well, get this, the following afternoon, those two men showed up at the house where we were staying, but each of them carried this good-sized bag over their shoulder. And I went over and I asked the local missionary we were staying with, why are they here and why have they come? And he explained that those two men would no longer be welcomed by their families or in their village. When I heard that, I was afraid that maybe this was going to be more than they had signed up for, more than they were willing to go along with. But about that time, the missionary said to me, they knew this would happen when they made the decision. So what are they doing? They're choosing Jesus over the ones they love the most. They're choosing Jesus over their own comfort and convenience, and fans don't do this. Followers are willing to deny themselves and say, "Look, I choose Jesus." They're willing to walk in and go to His side and say, I choose Jesus over money, and I choose Jesus over career goals, and I choose Jesus over getting drunk. I choose Jesus over looking at porn. I choose Jesus over a redecorated house. I choose Jesus over my freedom. I choose Jesus over what other people may think of me. I choose Jesus. And that's the side that they go to. They choose Jesus over anything and everything in their life. And so a follower doesn't stand mid-court with torn allegiance. A follower makes a decision every day to deny themselves and to follow Christ.
I'm a disciple.
I don't follow an idea.
I don't follow a religion.
I follow no ordinary person.
I walk in the steps of one man who wasn't afraid.
He spoke with truth and grace.
He stood up, took on sin face to face.
There is no one else
like him.
He makes the heavens with his breath.
He brings redemption with his death. He came to save the wayward world of sin. Father,
a savior,
my God,
my friend.
The blind see, the deaf hear, the dead live with him.
He has every right, but he doesn't condemn. He came to give
freedom from darkness,
a heart to the heartless,
love to the loveless,
courage that starts with
faith in him who will never fail. That's the one I follow.
His name is Jesus.
His name is Jesus.
He called my name. He told me to take up my cross, to go tell the story,
to love and to serve, to speak it boldly.
So I will stand up for him. Some may laugh, some will judge. My flesh will cry out, but I won't give in to the selfish urge
to live for someone or something that has never stared death in the face, only to rise in victory from the grave.
He is for me. Who could ever stand against?
So with trembling hands, I'll no longer sit on the fence.
Lip service is not enough.
I won't just sit in a pew.
I won't bite my tongue.
But for him and through him, I will run.
He has marked out a race, and from the start to the finish, I will seek his face.
I will live and I will love like Jesus by the power of the Spirit that he gave us.
I will give up what I cannot keep to gain what I cannot lose.
I'll be a disciple. Will you?